Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Happy New Year again. Thank you for joining us for tonight's edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. My name is Oluyemi Adeosun, and tonight we'll be looking at the topic HR metrics that matter, turning people data into business decision. And we are very privileged to have again one of our HR thought leaders, industry veterans, and also one of our own members on HR mentorship, Mr. Dele Ogunyale. Thank you so much, Dele, for joining us this evening.
Thank you
He's
for
a
the privilege.
reputable
I appreciate it.
consultant and in high demand. It's not easy to be able to create time for a pro bono service like this, but it's because of his art for service to help the younger HR practitioners and even the mature HR practitioners who may have gaps around this subject matter area. But just in case of some people who by chance may not know Dele Ogunyale or read his profile, brief excerpt of his profile. Oladele Ogunyale is a seasoned HR professional who has also played a significant role as an executive personal assistant in the early days of his career. He is an expert in strategic HR resource intervention, operations, culture management, change management, performance management, organizational development, data and HR analytics, corporate training, learning and development, resource allocation, workforce planning, concierge, and administration. He has over 2 decades of work experience in handling human resources, managing top-notch executives, C-suite, expatriates, and chairman of a renowned organization. As an employee relations expert, he ensures a peaceful work environment for staff, union, and the organization while formulating and enforcing numerous policies to ensure compliance with corporate goals, union, state, and federal legislative alignments accordingly. Oladele is a master's degree holder from the National Open University of Nigeria. He holds a BSc from Lagos State University of Joy. He also has an ND from the Polytechnic Ibadan. Ladies and gentlemen, he obtained his SSE from the prestigious great Igbobi College, Yaba. All right, I thought somebody would say up school there. He's a member of the board of a set of alumni, so he's also still active, even concerned about the welfare of the current students in his alma mater. He's an associate member of the Chara Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, where he has served as HOC Personal and Professional Development Committee and a member of the National Strategic Planning and Implementation Committee, SPEAK, at the national CIPM level. He's a full member of the Learning and Development Network International, LDNI, where he has served as the Director of Finance. He has also attended several training conferences. He currently serves as the Managing Consultant at DPS Consulting. He is a coach, is a mentor, and is also a clergy. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, speaking to us on the topic, HR metrics that matter, turning people data into business decision. Let's welcome Dele Ogunyale. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adeosun. Should I say Dr. Adeosun? I appreciate the privilege. I do not take it for granted. And I want to say a very good evening to all my colleagues, both senior, junior, contemporaries that are on this call this evening. Whatever I'm going to be sharing, likely not new to some of us. And of course, it's an opportunity to ponder over them, learn, relearn, unlearn certain things. And I know that at the end of the day, we're all going to be having something to take home. Just have an open mind. Think of it of what will I lose? All I need to do is gain something, learn something new. I'm sure in the art of interaction, I'm also going to be learning, and hopefully we'll get the best of this moment. Having said that, we'll be looking at the topic HR metrics that matters, turning people data into business decision. And okay, so our headline is very simple. The main objective, what is HR metrics? HR metrics and data analytics, essential skills for HR professionals. If time permits us, we'll look at data analytics model for business decisions. We'll do some practical. I'll give a synopsis and I'll close. So at the end of this section, our goal is to ensure each participant will have been able to align human capital management with organizational objective, leading to improved employee satisfaction, productivity, and ultimately better business outcome with laid down practical section. That's our main objective. Hopefully we get to that. My question is, what is HR metrics? I know that there are different definitions. Looking at what HR metric is, simply we could say what are key performance indicators. What are HR measures? When we talk about metrics, how do you measure the heart of human resources? That's the bone of contention. All right. So HR metrics in definition as I picked, it's actually, or you can call it HR KPIs, are quantifiable measures used to assess and analyze various aspects of an organization human resource function. These metrics provide valuable insights into the performance, efficiency, and impact of HR processes and initiatives. HR metrics cover a wide range of areas, including talent acquisition. You want to identify, as the head of HR, you've given your talent manager an assignment to recruit, and it's taking years to get a particular talent into a position. You can calculate the time to hire. How long does it take this person? And you can quantify and look at it. Is it profitable to the organization? Is the guy taking the right steps? Is he doing the right thing? Is he sourcing for the right candidate? These are some of the things that you can achieve with the use of HR metrics. Employee engagement. You want to dive down to the point where you want to know how important, how deliberate, how intentional your organization have operated in this area, and you want to get feedback from employees. Training and development. What is the ROI for every training that you have conducted in the last 1 quarter, 2 quarter, 3 quarter, in the whole year? Comparison to last year. You are throwing around analysis on numbers, data, so that you can operate on the essentials and be sure that you are hitting the nail on the head. Workforce diversity, performance management. Are the people on the field really delivering the numbers? Or is just garbage in, garbage out? What are you trying to achieve? And overall HR operational effectiveness. And that's what HR metrics does for you. HR metrics and data analytics are dynamic fields. And I would like us to just review some of them. There are so many of them, so many, but let's review some of them. So for HR metrics, there's what we call employee engagement metrics. The employee engagement metrics is used to measure and improve employee engagement. And there's a template for each of the metrics. And we're going to look at these templates and have some conversation. We're looking at ENPS as a formula, and which is percentage of promoter minus percentage of detractors times 100. Who are your promoters and who are your detractors when it comes to performance management? when it comes to employee engagement, rather. How often do you reach out? So in this case, for example, if your promoters scores 9 to 10, it's therefore saying that 60% of its detractors are scores 0 to 6, which means that 20% minus ENPS equals 60% minus 20% times 100, and this will give you 40. So out of 100, what you have as people who are fully engaged in your employment is 40, because the detractors are 60%. Those who are not giving their attention to the engagement that is being promoted within the system. And you have 20% who are fully engaged. They understand what the business is all about. And this, in essence, is going to give you the room to look into the workforce and engage your employee more. You're able to measure, you're able to improve your employee engagement. I'll look at the second one, workforce diversity and inclusion. This helps you to analyze diversity metrics for inclusive workplace. Peradventure, there had been some disengagement because people are beginning to see the workplace as not DEI compliant and is giving you issues. As an HR professional, it's important that you review these numbers, review this data, so that it helps you to know when you are bringing in new set of people you want to be DEI compliant, putting into contention, probably where you are supposed to have a team and you're because of oversight, all you have in that particular department is male, 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 male. And not that females cannot do the job. You want to put into consideration for work balance, for gender balance, rather, to say, oh, it's necessary that we promote gender balance, bringing in a female. The diversity index formula is calculated as number of underrepresented group divided by total workforce times 100. Imagine an organization comes to pitch and you're going through their members of board of directors, you're going through their management team, and in all elaborations of conversations that they have and they are making presentation, it becomes obvious that a team that wants to come and pitch for a particular business, maybe in advertising, maybe in marketing, you cannot find a single female on their management team. Sincerely, that flags a lot of things to any thinking leadership team, because it will tell of either it's intentional or it's an oversight, or values are not placed on the female gender. I'm not being feminine, but I'm just giving an example of what, it's like when out of oversight you ignore certain DEI compliance. So in this case, it's easy to calculate. Underrepresented group, for example, let's say total workforce is 150, and you want to get the diversity index. underrepresented group is 150 people out of 1,000 total workforce. So your diversity index will be 150 divided by 1,000 times 100, which will give you 15%. That seems to be very high for some organization, depending the industry in which they operate. But again, it's important that you do that calculation. We go to the next one. It's called talent acquisition metrics. Talent acquisition metrics. This is to help you to optimize recruitment with analytics. It will help you to optimize recruitment with analytics. And one of the things you want to achieve is to know the time to fill formula. The total days to fill a position as against the number of positions to be filled. Very simple, just like I gave an analogy earlier, that as an HR manager, you have given your talent manager an assignment to recruit and is expected to deliver a talent maybe based on specialization, area of interest, certain metrics that has been given as the yardstick to bring in a particular employee, then he's finding it difficult, or rather it takes a longer time to do. So for example, total day to fill a position happens to be 60 days, and the number of positions filled is 10. To calculate the time to fill in talent acquisition metrics for that, your talent manager or your recruitment manager, time to fill will now be 60 days divided by number of employee that is to be filled, or the position to be filled, 10, which is equal to 6 days per position. It means that it takes the individual 6 days to fill up a position. And this is possible based on the fact that there are so many processes to undergo. And where the number of days is higher than necessary, the possibility could be that it gives you, the metrics gives you the room to think and analyze and possibly propose a review of the process of recruitment, because that could be that there's a bottleneck somewhere, or maybe it's the way the recruitment manager is going about recruiting such talent, and it's important that this is reviewed. The fourth one is employee performance metrics. Using data to enhance performance management is very key. And what's the template? The key performance indicators must be aligned. So formula is number of employee achieving KPIs divided by total number of employee multiplied by 100. So you want to enhance your data on performance management. Employees that are achieving KPIs of 80 minus total number of employees, which is 100, your KPIs alignment will be 80 divided by 100 times 100, which will give you 80%, which means that 80% of your workforce actually performing, and they are meeting up with their responsibility, meeting up with their KPIs, delivering their deliverables if possible. The next is learning and development analytics, measuring impacts, measuring the impact of training programs. You know, it's important that when you run a training program, you need to measure the impact. You need to identify the return on investment for such a training. What are the values that it has delivered? And what does that add to the bottom line of the organization? The template is training ROI formula. Value of training outcome minus cost of the training divided by cost of training times 100. So for example, if the value of training outcome is 200,000 and cost of training is 50,000. So the training ROI will give us 200,000 minus 50,000 altogether divided by the cost of training, which is 50,000 times 100. Because you have allowed the ripple effect of training to have a great impact on your business, and is giving you a 300% ROI on training. And this is possible. And it's possible to also calculate this analysis while using your HR metrics. The next one is retention metrics. Here you use a predictive analytics for employee retention. And what is the predictive attrition rate formula? Is the number of employees predicted to leave divided by total workforce times 100. If you are a good and excellent HR manager, you will feel the impulse of your staff, of your employee in an organization. And you can predict by the activities and the data analysis that are coming to your table, those who might likely have a shift to move or desire to want to move to another department or move out of the system or move out of the country. Like we have a lot of Japaism, going on all over the whole place. There's also the art of Jakpada now, where people want to come back because where they've gone to most likely is not having stayed there for some time. They just want to return back home. So you have some of those situations going on. So the predictive analysis for employee retention has to take place. So in this case, the predicted attrition, let's assume is 25, and the total workforce is 500. So the predictive attrition rate will be 25 divided by 500, 25 divided by 500 times 100, which will give you 5%. So this can be predicted by the data that is available to you. Employee well-being metrics. Monitoring and improving employee well-being. Well-being index formula gives us average well-being score of employee. And a good example is saying the well-being score on a scale of 1 to 5, we could say 4.2. We could say 4. We could say 3.5. But ensure that you have a good well-being index, because it's an attraction to your organization for talent. And it's something that talents look out for, for their work-life balance, to be sure that if they join your organization, and these are metrics that are conducted over organizations to stipulate them as a good workplace, in the society. The next is remote work analytics. Remote work analytics. You can analyze remote work productivity and engagement. So it's not just that we want to run remote in our organization. We want to go hybrid. some will come to the office sometimes, and some will work from home. There is an index that is used, there's a metric that is used to ensure engagement and productivity. The remote productivity index formula is simply calculated as remote productivity metrics divided by in-office productivity metrics. So the remote productivity metrics, if I assume, is 85 in-office productivity. In-office productivity metrics is 75. So remote productivity index will be 85 divided by 75, which is equal to 1.13. Now, the expectation is that working remotely should be more productive. And that's why you're having a better turnout. But in the case where there's a decline, then it's essential that this should be reviewed. There's what we call cost per hire. Your recruitment manager should be able to optimize recruitment costs by the use of the cost per hire. The template is very simple. Cost per hire formula is total recruitment cost divided by number of hires. So total recruitment cost, assuming is 50,000 naira, and number of hires is 10. It means that the cost per hire for those 10 staff will be 50,000 divided by 10, which is 5,000 per hire. So a good example, you want to put together all the cost of hiring 10 staff. Is it the advertisement? Is it the cost of flying the staff, the talent in for interview? Whatever cost that is associated to recruitment or recruiting such a staff, such are identified as costs of hire. Now, if you hire more than one, and maybe, for example, like we gave here, you hire 10 people at such instance, you can use the cost per hire to identify the cost of hiring each of those individuals into your organization. Employee turnover rates. It's another one. Template is number of employee departed divided by average total number of employee times 100. You want to know what your employee turnover rate is. For example, if 20 employees left out of an average of 50, average of 500 staff, the turnover rate will be 20 divided by 500 times 100, which will give you 4%. So that way you know that your attrition rate is 4%. And that's a bit high. So as an organization, you need to look into what is leading to the departure of your talent so that you don't lose the best ends. Time to fill. I think I've worked on this earlier. If it's repeated, apologies. If it takes 30 days to fill 10 positions, the time to fill, okay, this is time to fill. The time to fill will be 3 days per position. Okay, the other one is cost per hire. So this is time to fill. All right, which is 30 divided by 10, which give you 3 days per talent. Employee productivity. This is simply output divided by input. If an employee produces 100 units in an 8-hour per day, the productivity is 12.5 units per hour. It's as simple as that. Absenteeism rate. There's a matrix to calculate absenteeism rate. And this is simply number of days employees were absent divided by total possible work days times 100. So if employees were absent for a total of 500 days, out of 10,000 possible work days, the absenteeism rate will be 500 divided by 10,000 times 100, which will give you 5%. All right? Training return on investment. This is to identify the value generated and against the training cost. And so, for example, if a training program costs 10,000 naira and the result yields 50,000, increased productivity, the return on investment is calculated as 50,000 minus 10,000 altogether divided by 10,000 times 100. This will give you 400%. It means that your training is giving great impact to the productivity increase that is being experienced in the organization. And this can be measured in different ways as well, but we'll get into that. Employee engagement score. This is to test the level of employee engagement in your organization. So the number of engaged employee divided by total number of employees times 100. So for example, if 300 out of 500 employees are engaged, the engagement score is 300 divided by 500 times 100, which will give you 60%. It means that 60% of your staff strength are fully engaged. Others are not, especially when it comes to productivity. Especially when it comes to deliverables and ensuring that they meet their KPIs. Especially when they align with the organizational policy. These are areas that can be reviewed. Performance rating distribution. A pie chart can be used to show the distribution of performance rating. Those who exceed expectation, those who meet expectation, those who are below expectation. We know how these things are put together, especially when you're running an appraisal. So you could, at the end of the whole exercise, make a visual representation of those who exceed expectation, of those who meet expectation, and those who were below expectation. And then it's left for management to make a decision. What should be done in such a case. Overtime cost is calculated as total overtime cost divided by total labor cost times 100. So, for example, if the overtime cost amount to 5,000 and total labor costs are 50,000, the overtime cost percentage will be 5,000 divided by 50,000 times 100, which is 10%. Having identified few of the HR metrics that are obvious for use for HR professionals, it is obvious that HR professionals are increasingly expected to be data literate to make informed decisions, optimize process, and contribute strategically to organizational goal. And how can this be achieved? Let's look at some of the skills, essential skills that an HR professionals must have to be able to navigate around some of these metrics that has been earlier mentioned. The first one I will specify is the data analysis skill. This is a statistical analysis that helps you to understand basic statistical concepts, helps you in interpreting those data, trends, and patterns. If you don't have this skill, it's imperative that I advise you to make inquiries on how to get better and improve on these skills. How is it being used? Descriptive and inferential analysis. The ability to describe data and make inferences based on statistical analysis. That is reflecting to facts and figure. Pattern, trend. You know, you are looking at how things were done previously or the numbers that comes in the previous year, and you're also looking at what has happened this year and you're comparing numbers to give you the opportunity to give inference, describing what the performance of, say, a particular department has been over a time or a period of time. Another skill that you must have is what I call data management. I will ask you the question, how do you collect data? How do you clean your data? How do you store your data? Knowing how to collect relevant and accurate data is very crucial. Knowing when to use polls, when to use questionnaires, you know, all sources of data collections and what to use them for is very, very important. You must have the skill to clean and pre-process data to ensure accuracy and consistencies. Data cleaning is a skill that you must have. And that is why once a report comes to your table and you do a back and forth with your subordinate or your colleagues, when you have the final output of that data, having cleaned that data up, it is important that you know how to store that data. Understanding how to organize and store the data securely, it's a skill you must improve on. There are some people that once they open their laptop, you'll be wondering, even though they will tell you, I know where I kept it. A superior will ask for information and then they will start, you know, battling on their laptop to, you know, to pop out such an information. And this is because they have not learned data storage skills alongside their profession. As an HR professional, you must, I use the word must, you must learn how to store data. Either physical data or, you know, data that are comprehend into programming and all the rest. Data visualization, graphs and charts. You must have the ability to create clear and meaningful visual representation of data using tools like Excel, Tableau, or other visualization tools. These things are things that we come across on a regular basis. So, for example, some organizations, you will not see them put letter writing on the wall. So for a gent, you see a male picture at the door of a particular room, which is more like a closet. Obviously, it interprets that this place is a male toilet. You must be able to visualize your conversation to the people that you want to deliver them to. That at the sight of symbols, at the sight of visuals, they already understand, you know, what you are trying to visualize. Use of graphics, use of charts to buttress your point of declining or progress in any activities. It's highly appreciated. So understanding how to interpret and communicate insight from visualization is very key as a skill to have. Basic programming skills is important. Excel, spreadsheet, Tableau, SQL, basic programming knowledge is highly important. And the reason is because proficiency in using spreadsheet software for data analysis is key for an HR professional. Ability to query database for specific information is very, very important. For those who use one HRIS or the other, it's important that you be able to navigate through the information that has been made, provided to you. Informations that so many other people have logged into the system. And yours is to pull them out and begin to analyze. You must have the basic skills for them. Understanding programming concepts can be beneficial for working with more advanced data tools for yourself. Technology proficiency. If HR information system, proficiency in using HRIS to gather and analyze HR-related data is very key. And a lot of organizations use these tools because they are even linked to the core operations of the business. And that is why, as an HR professional, you must have what we call business acumen, knowing the operations of the business in which you operate. Don't put yourself in a situation where you say, my own is just to manage the people. A lot of HR professionals make that mistakes. If it's possible, if it's a marketing organization, learn how to market. It is in the place of learning how to market, you'll be able to get the best of talent and use their terminologies to be able to get the best of talent for your organization. If you don't, there's no way you can relate to deliver best talent. And supposedly, even bring in business. Who says that an HR professionals cannot, in the place of interaction, win a huge contract for his or our organization? So business intelligence tools, familiarizing with these tools like the Tableau, the Power BI, and similar platforms will help you to deliver your profession perfectly. There are some other critical ones that I would like to mention. I call this critical thinking. Critical thinking skill is highly important for an HR professional. Problem-solving ability to analyze situation, identify problems, and propose data-driven solutions. One of the things I learned in my early years in the profession with the kind of bosses I've worked with is you don't bring problem to them without proposing a solution. You must have at least one or two proposed solutions to whatever problem you have identified that you want to bring to their table. Either it makes sense or not, at least you have made an effort to propose a possible solution to the problem that has been identified. And this is a skill that comes out from critical thinking. And not only that you are able to profile solution, you are also able to make prompt decisions because you'll be able to use data to make informed decisions that align with the organizational objective. And this can just be through usual data that comes in. Oh, this has been the trend over a time. I think this is the way to go. And you're able to make an informed decision. Communication skill is another skill that is highly important for an HR professional. Please conveying insight in a way that is understandable to a non-technical stakeholder is highly important. Learn how to use data storytelling. Learn how to give an appropriate report writing. Ability to document findings and recommendations clearly, that people will read on the notice board and they understand without coming back to HR to say, what exactly are you trying to say? You send a communique via this communication portal of the organization, and people are wondering, what exactly is HR saying? Are they saying we should embark on the holiday, or they are saying we should wait until there's an approval? You must communicate appropriately until an information is conveyed to the receiver and understand what it's saying. You have not communicated. So it will be an understatement to say that you're unable to communicate appropriately as an HR professional. And if there is need, there's an opportunity to learn the communication mastery, which can be profiled by our HABU coordinator, Dr. Oluyemi Adeosun. Let me move on. Ethical considerations. Data privacy and security is highly important, and these are ethical consideration skills that you must have. Understanding and adhering to data privacy regulations. Because you are the HR and you have informations of people, please, it's highly important that you don't disclose those information without the appropriate approval, no matter who is asking for it. Ethical use of data, ensuring that data is used responsibly and ethically. Continuous learning. You know, the desire to learn continuously, it's very key. Learning to stay updated, keeping abreast of development in data analytics and HR technology is also another key, appropriation that I will seek HR professionals to give attention to. Training opportunities, taking advantage of courses and workshops to enhance your data literacy skills and other areas of improvement, like we are having today. HR mentors have always given us the platform to learn and to continuously learn. And that is why I give it to HR mentors at any point in time, because whatever you are looking for, just like a slogan of some football club that says, never walk alone. In HR mentors, you don't walk alone. There's room for continuous learning, and you can come around. On the platform, on every opportunity, take advantage. Take advantage on the small talks. Take advantage on the small case studies that we have. Take advantage on the little courses that we take, the workshops. Enhance your skills. Another skills that is very important for an HR professional is what I call collaboration skills. The ability to have what we call cross-functional collaboration, working with different departments, the IT, the finance, especially when it comes to data, the marketing team, the sales team. They are the custodians of numbers. Work with them to get information, how the people you have hired, how they are doing in the field. What are their deliverables? How are their performance in numbers? Don't wait until they want to have appraisal and then you are running all over the whole place. The sales department have MPR gives their report, states the performance of each of the regions or the zone and all that. You never bother as an HR manager to say, or the head of HR to say, can you break these numbers further down per individual for me? Let me see how these people, because a lot of things are hidden behind numbers, behind datas, until it is analyzed. That is when you get the relevance of them. Team collaboration, working collaboratively with colleagues to leverage collective what? Expertise. Very important. And I cannot but re-emphasize this. Business acumen. Understand organizational goal. Align data analysis with broader business objective. Why will an organization suddenly says we want to go the route of bringing in management trainee rather than recruiting? Were there conversation around this? What was the proposal? Is it something that originates from the HR department, or is just, oh, this is what the MD wants, and then you want to run with it? How profitable is it? What industry are you running? How do you want to work this out and be sure that it is profitable to the organization? Having the industry knowledge, understanding the industry specific trends and benchmark. You know, you want to have in maybe a retail business, your boss heard about an organization that is running a management training profile, and he just brings it as an idea and say, let's start doing this. And you know by data that you have in your hands that your attrition rate is very high, whereby once you recruit sales staff, once they get their bearing within 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months, 1 year, they leave the system. And your management training program procedure takes about 6 months. And it costs fortunes to bring in the best of ends. How do you think you can reconcile the reality you have on ground and the request from your managing director? You need to have data to explain to the man to understand, or the woman to understand, that some profile works for some organization. Out of exigencies, don't just take up the request and say, this is what the MD wants. But as an HR professional, highly skilled, do your due diligence, put up the data, pull out the data, make analysis, make a presentation to let them understand that at that given point in time, what is being requested might not be profitable to the organization. It's as simple as that. All right. Okay, we have reviewed these skills. I said by developing these skills, you can effectively leverage data to contribute to strategic decision making and enhance overall organizational performance. Please note that continuous learning and adaptability are key in this rapidly evolving field. So we go to our practical section. I'm just going to randomly work on 2 key HR metrics, and then I'll bring this to a close. My intention is to do a 1-hour presentation. I didn't know that. So let's take cost per hire metrics as an example and provide a data analytics template in an Excel spreadsheet. So if you are there and you want to practicalize, please, you can go ahead with me. I will read this out and then we'll practicalize. In this template, we'll calculate the cost per hire based on the total recruiting cost and the number of hires. So on your Excel spreadsheet template, which is your cost per hire, your first column can have employee ID. The second column can have department. The third column can have position. The fourth column can have recruiting cost. The fifth one, number of hires. And then the sixth one, cost per hire. And this is where the formula comes in. So let's input some of this data and see what we have. So here, I've tried to do something, and you can see I inserted the formula. So employee ID, for the first department, they wanted developer. The recruiting cost is 5 million. Number of hires in that for that department that costs 5 million were 2. HR, I like to give us the HR department good numbers. So they wanted a recruiter. They were ready to pay 7 million, and it's just one person to be hired. The third department is sales department. There is need for account representative, an account officer. And the recruiting cost is 7.5 million. And there were just 3 of them that were recruited. That's our first practical lesson. What's the breakdown? And then we'll go to an Excel sheet. In the cost per hire column F, the formula is as simple as it is. D2, A, B, C, D. D2, as you can see, divided by E2 is the cost of hire, just as you have it here. By the time you deploy this in Excel, it gives you the appropriate number, which is, I would say, 2.5. So the cost of hire per individual in the IT department is 2.5 million. In HR is 7 million. And then in sales departments, it's 2.5 million for the 3 of them. Just as simple as that. But the good thing about it is that once you enter the formula in the first row, you can drag down the formula for subsequent row, just in case you have so many rows to fill. Now you have a basic template for tracking and calculating the cost per hire. So as you add more data, the cost per hire column will automatically update based on the provided formulas. Additionally, you can use Excel built-in features to create charts, graphics for visualizing the data. For instance, you might create a bar chart to compare recruiting costs for different positions or departments, just as you are making your presentation. Remember to customize your template based on your specific needs and the level of detail required for your analysis. Let's look at practical exercise 2. Let's take the employee turnover rate. The employee turnover rate matrix is an example, and we are to create a template for tracking and analyzing employee turnover rate. This template will include column for employee ID, department, date joining, date of departure, and the calculation of the turnover rate. So if you have your Excel sheet, again, first column, employee ID, second, department, third, date of joining, fourth, date of departure, fifth, employment duration. We deploy a formula, and this is from date of joining to date of departure. And then employee turnover rate. So let's input the data sample. As you can see, this is the formula. So in HR department, there's an individual who joined the business 1st of January 2022. And by 15th of March 2023, the person is exiting the business. You can use the formula equal date dated if, open brackets C2, comma D2, comma M in informal comma, and bracket close, to get the employment duration of the individual. And then you get the turnover rate by using the if error formula. And then again, deploy the same, you get the answer. For example, this is about 15 months, if I'm correct. And then the same way we run. In the employment duration column, the formula is dated if for the first row. If you drag the formula down for subsequent rows, you get same answer. The same thing for the turnover rate. This formula calculates the turnover rate as the inverse of employment duration and converts it to percentage. If the if error function is used to handle cases where the employment duration is 0 or negative for current employees. Now you have a basic template for tracking and calculating the employee turnover rate as you add more data. The employment duration, the turnover rate, columns will automatically update based on the provided formulas. You can customize this template based on your specific needs and the level of details required for your analysis. This template serves as a starting point for training purpose and can be expanded or modified as necessary in adding more metrics as required. So in closing, summarily, I would say HR metrics and data analysis is a field within HR that involves the systematic collection, analysis, and interpretation of data to inform decision-making and improve overall organizational performance. In exploring some of the HR metrics like employee turnover rate, overtime cost, diversity and inclusion metrics, performance rating distribution, employee engagement score, employee productivity, cost per hire, absenteeism rate, training return on investment, using data analytics models, it helps to identify and utilize key performance indicators and quantitative measurement to assess various aspects of the workforce, such as recruitment, employee engagement, employee retention, employee performance, and overall HR effectiveness. By leveraging data-driven insights, HR professionals can make informed decisions, identify trends, and develop strategies to enhance efficiency and effectiveness of HR process. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you very
sir.
much. This has been super exciting, engaging, and also timely, quoting one of the participants on this call tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to take a few comments, contributions, questions. If you would like to chime in, please raise your hands quickly so that you can, we can hear your voice. Any question, any comments, any contribution? Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this session. Also check in to see if there's any unanswered question in the chat box. I see none. Let's see, everybody is just saying this is a powerful and highly strategic area for HR. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Olusegun. Spot on. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what we do at the twilight of any presentation? We are now able to unmute and voice our gratitude, our appreciation to our facilitator, Mr. Dele Ogunyali, who has been magnanimous, generous to share from his wealth of knowledge. Please, let's unmute and let's say thank you to Dele Ogunyali. Thank you so much, sir.
Dele, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Dele. It was a very powerful presentation.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much
Thank
for that
you.
powerful presentation. God bless
I
you.
haven't seen it in this light before.
Thank you so much.
You touched on every aspect. Well done, sir.
God bless you, sir. Thank you so much.